Because the first time I went to the Commonwealth, for example, I went to the Commonwealth about 4 or 5 times. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's not the first time I went there.
As you rightly mentioned, the topic of, for example, depression it's very unfortunately taboo at times among Black men.
Exactly.
And so I really appreciate that you have penned something like that would have resonated with other men.
I say to anyone that has the love for writing, is to read, that's first. 2 is to keep writing. 3, have a mentor, have someone who can guide you.
Stay tuned.
The most prominent producer then in the industry tell Tony that he could not bust a female artist because
failing is one thing. Failing publicly is a very hard thing.
I said I was holding my mouth, the lies were going, and I sat and I saw women on the TV just lying bluntly, just like that.
Released the all media survey, and when you look at the name Ron Mushet, 0, 0, 0.
I had to fend for myself at an early age. In fact, my mother became mentally ill when I was 9 years old.
I sold everything and went to my wife and said, and she said to me, all right, no problem. She will back me. Just leave the house.
From entertainers, politicians, business leaders, and more, the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle on YouTube has it all.
That I'm new to that.
I did movies with Denzel Washington. Then I wrote Baps, and that's starring Halle Berry.
You wrote Babs?
I wrote Babs,
oh, no.
Subscribe now for a brand new year of inspiration and strategies to make it from the best of the best. Plus catch up on episodes you may have missed. It's the Trailblazers with Tamara McKayle.
So this week on the Trailblazers, I'm delighted to have a noted author, poet, authorpreneur, so much more, anything with the word, with the written or the speaking word. He's the man, and his name is Kwame McPherson. Kwame, a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, I was listening to you when you were previously on the radio station and everything else, and even when you left, how emotional that was. So yeah, man, I've been a fan of yours for a while. So yeah, man, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because I did leave that radio show like about 6-7 months now. So that's good to know. That's good to know that you are a supporter. But I mean, you're not just an author and a poet and a ghostwriter and all of those wonderful things. You actually are an award-winning. I should mention that because that is important. That distinguishes you from the rest.
All right.
By the way, if you hear an accent, he was living in the UK for many years, right?
Yeah. Well, for years. But I was out in Jamaica. When there was a year that didn't pass when I was in Jamaica. But yeah, I lived there for a while. As a matter of fact, I lived in various places because I lived in North America too.
Oh, we're in the US?
No, I was in Canada actually, yeah.
Oh, you lived in Canada for a while as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've done the diaspora kind of thing,
Nice. I know you're back home for your back home in Jamaica. And we should start things off as well to say congratulations to Kwame. At the time of this interview, he has been one of 2 Jamaicans shortlisted for the Commonwealth Short Story Award.
Right, that's correct.
Competition, and that's a big deal. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's still surreal. I must admit, because man. It's like my brain can't compute, but I give thanks.
Awesome. All right, so tell us about your journey, because as we mentioned, you lived in the UK, you've lived in Canada, as you also stated. So where did it all start for Kwame and his journey into even writing? Tell us about your early years back in Jamaica.
All right. So early years, so my father and my mother had split up, and me and my brother came to Jamaica at a very young age. I think I was about 6 or 7, and I lived in Jamaica ever since till I was about 20s, as a young man.
Oh, so you were originally born in the UK?
Yeah. I was born in the UK.
To Jamaican parents?
Yeah. My father came home and I grew up here. Really.
Okay.
And the thing is that, as you know, in primary school, mainly you do a lot of creative writing, and I guess it started there. But I didn't do any writing in terms of, even when I went to high school, one of the best high schools in the Caribbean, but I shall not mention any names.
If it's one of the best, why you're not mentioning it?
No, because people are going to contest it. No, it's not the best. It's not the best. That was the contesting.
I want to know.
You want to know? Oh, we were green and black. So hello.
Oh, Calabar.
Yeah. I see a laugh. Anyway.
No, I like Calabar. Calabar is my school too. Well, I mean, it's an all boys school, but I rate Calabar boys, so no problem.
I'm a product of Calabar, but funny enough, even when I was in high school, I didn't do any writing. Whereas my brother was much more of an expert at writing, actually, because he won awards while at high school. And he's not writing now, funny enough, but I have now left and everything else. And when I left Jamaica, I still wasn't writing until I went back to the UK, because I went back to the UK to further my studies. And it was whilst I was working, and I started doing some poetry, I think it was. And somebody came and said to me, "Oh, this is good poetry, and could you do my personalized poem?" I said, "Yeah, no problem." And that's virtually how it started. I started doing personalized poems. Everyone liked it. I submitted in the competitions, and I started winning poetry. And I said, "Okay, all right, cool. I'm okay with this stuff." And then I moved on to longer, like prose and stuff like that. And when I started writing prose, I think I had one ending in terms of writing, but I love writing short stories. I just love, because I love seeing people enjoy what I'm writing and stuff like that. And it's only when I went to Canada now, that's when I started to win awards for my writing, because I won a couple of awards in Canada for my short stories. And then I just continued, really, and then I started writing for other people. And but I love writing stories, and it has grown. I have seen where my writing has grown to the point is now obviously been shortlisted for the Commonwealth. So and that's how it is. But it's over many years. It wasn't overnight. I can tell you that. Many years, many disappointments. But I published a lot of books. I've written in a lot of anthologies and stuff like that. So the writing has continued. And have a love for writing. And then I've been able to meet other phenomenal writers. So I've been able to meet Mervyn Morris. I've been able to meet
that North Caribbean poet.
Yeah, I've been able to meet a New York bestseller, Colin Channer. As a matter of fact, he was the one who actually gave me some solid advice just as I was starting on the road to writing. So I've been fortunate enough to also meet others in that environment, which has inspired me.
Yes. Yeah. And that's amazing. That's amazing, especially when you look at the fact that you started from the ground up.
Yeah.
And worked your way to what you are now and to who you are now.
Yes, definitely. But the funny is, I didn't know I would transpire to become a writer. It wasn't as if I think my grandfather was a writer, but I met him when I was very young, and he passed away when I was young. But and funny enough, my nephews are good writers, but they don't know it. I've seen what they've written, so if there's something in, I'm going to be doing a genealogy to find out where this gene comes from. In terms of our love for writing, and it's transpired in such a way that today I'm enjoying what I do. I enjoy provoking thought, and I'm fortunate enough to live in the diaspora for a period of time, so I'm able to create stories which are also relevant,
Indeed.
And modern in that regard. So,
as somebody who has always loved writing myself, like poetry, I'm actually I ghostwrited recently for someone's book.
Okay.
Yes, cool. And I mean, obviously, being in media, I would write otherwise, but also I enjoy writing creatively. So, right. I mean, it's a pleasure when you see people, because I actually used to write for Commonwealth as a youth correspondent.
Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't done it in a while. So, doing stuff like that, actually, it takes a level of creativity.
Yes, it does.
A level of imagination.
It does. So, and I love traveling. That traveling helps. Traveling helps to create that. That imagination. And reading, I love reading, lots of reading, and I love history. I love news. I love this written word, whatever it is, because you just don't know what you can create from it.
Yes, that is so true. All right, I want to touch on your name, because I got to understand that your name originally wasn't Kwame, but it was changed at a later date. And once I heard Kwame, I'm thinking Afrocentric, Pan-Africanist. That's what comes to my mind.
Funny enough, the name, and I think some people say it's ordained, because I didn't have the name. When I started to recognize my skill in writing, or my love for writing, and being a scribe, the name was long before then. So what it is was, when I was in the UK and my first name is Michael. I when I was in particular workplaces and work situations, I was pretty radical. I was very outspoken. That's the way Jamaicans are, especially in an environment where, there's a lot of stuff, like injustice and inequality that you see taking place. And I couldn't stand for that. So because when I started to become very outspoken in the workplace, I said, you know what? No, man, I have to come from an African-centered thing in terms of being like almost like a freedom fighter in that sense. And I did some research on my name. I did some research on when I was born, because in terms of West African history, or in West African way of doing things in terms of born and being raised, the name that you're given is the day you're born. And so I was born on a Saturday. And a Saturday, Kwame means Saturday. And it also means, the meaning of Kwame is one with wisdom, one who's got, is born with wisdom. So when I saw that, I said, oh, wow, look at that. So so our ancestors, to a great extent, I mean, to this day, the formal way of birthing our children or birthing us as people is we have a name that's for that day. And funny enough, your name will become your destiny in that sense. So it happened, yeah. So it's only when I started writing now, and I was doing some research, because I remember publishing something, and I said, oh, there's another Michael McPherson out there as a writer. And I said, all right, I need to have a different name, and so Kwame came about. And I've always lived with Kwame because I'm comfortable with it. I remember going back to the motherland. I remember going back to Ghana years ago, and the experience of going there as Kwame made more sense than being you know what I mean? So it's stuck with me, and it's made me stand out, and it has really become my destiny, in a sense, in terms of my name.
Wow.
Yeah, it really has.
That is amazing. I mean, I would actually want to go to, but then as you mentioned, you selected that name based on the research and everything.
Yeah.
I'll repeat what you said in terms of when you were born on a Saturday, because I need to talk back to my mom, but I'm sure, I think it was a Saturday I was born.
You probably be in Ghana in particular, because I had an affinity with Ghana. You probably be a Kwabena, but Kwame is the name that is designated for Saturday for boys. There are others, especially depending on where you are. Yeah, there's quite a few. But like I said, I just felt Kwame more so than I felt anything else. And Kwame, like I said, has a ring to it. Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah, who was the first liberator and first president of Ghana. Yeah, Kwame Carmichael, who was a freedom fighter for the Black Panthers. So Kwame had a resonance with me. So and I think I've created Kwame I have become Kwame in that sense.
Indeed. And actually, incidentally, I actually thought of Kwame Nkrumah initially because. Right. One of my cousins, his dad, my aunt's husband, he's actually an Nkrumah. And
right.
Yes, and his family's originally from Africa, and they have a lineage too.
Okay.
Nkrumah, yes. So that's the first thought that came to my mind.
Yeah.
So for you then, how does your work, and for example, as a writer as well, how do you put through your ideologies? Is it all fiction, or do you also put forward your passion? And it's not even just your passion. Also, do you put forward ideologies and belief that may also be considered controversial?
Yes, that's a very great question, because a lot of what I do write is fictional. But what I also try to do, like I said, I'm a reader, I'm an avid learner and love history. And history tells us a lot in regards to the world story. So I tend to use, like I said, being a traveler across the diaspora, I've been able to take stories, bits of stories to create something else, to create something. Because one thing I found in regards to us as diasporans, and I mean those outside of the motherland and the Caribbean, the journey is similar in terms of what we've been through other people, but it's just that the stories aren't told to each other. So I try to encapsulate all of that into stories that I write. In terms of, and the question, and when you say about using stuff that is controversial, so for example, my last work was My Date with Depression, which is my latest book. And it was about my experience with depression as an African Caribbean man and Jamaican man in particular. So that book actually is controversial to a great extent, because there are not many books, if any, about Black men going through depression. So my book has resonated with a lot of men, Black men in particular, like I said, in the diaspora and in Jamaica too. I haven't started to roll it out in Jamaica yet, but within it, there's things in terms of touching on religion, in terms of touching on history, our history, and how these things have impacted on us as Black men today. So My Day with Depression is my latest book. It's a non-fiction book because it's about my journey with depression, and yeah, it's so I do write different areas and different genres and so on and so forth. So fiction, non-fiction, and I try to bring in reality as well as history, and put it on stories, storytelling. The storyteller, the great art.
Yes, and storytelling is no doubt an art. It's an art that I love, and it's an art that you do so well. And I mean, as you rightly mentioned, the topic of, for example, depression it's very unfortunately taboo at times among Black men.
Exactly.
And so I really appreciate that you have penned something like that would have resonated with other men. And speaking of that, because that in of itself also, talk to us about some of the challenges that you may have faced dealing with depression, but also just generally as a Black man in a predominantly white nation. Even though we know, yes, UK is multicultural. I mean, my mom is there, as you know. So we know a lot of Jamaicans live in the UK and other nationalities. It's multicultural, but at the same time, there still are, So what has been like some of your challenges? I see you laughing, so I guess it's been quite a number.
Yeah, which it is, and I say to anyone who, if you live for a while especially in a predominantly white country, as a Black person or person of color, there will be instances, especially if you're not, in the historical aspect of it, the structures are still the same. So that means, for example, you have the organizations that were involved with the whole enslavement of our ancestors, and the systems are still the same. They're no different. What has tend to happen to a great extent is that there's a lot of plaster putting in terms of putting over there haven't been wholesale changes in terms of acceptance of people of color, in my opinion, and I've seen this time and time again in terms of the systems that exist, especially like in a place like UK, where virtually it's probably started. So yeah, it is controversial in regards to what I can raise, and I probably will write about my journey of that experience. But you have to be strong, and I take off my hat to those Jamaicans who went there initially, because they faced a lot in regards to the physical, the verbal, and the non-physical violence that and abuse that they face. But it's still continuing to this day. It's still continuing. It hasn't changed, in my opinion. And when you talk to others, you realize that it really hasn't. It's not, as a matter of fact, it's regressed back to what it was years ago, back in the 70s, and it's really regressed. And there's a lot of unhappy people who want to, like I said, escape. There's quite a lot. A lot of people I know are taking out Jamaican citizenship and that kind of stuff because, not only that though, there's the thing about the economy and all that kind of stuff, especially for the UK. And they want to make Jamaica home. But it is a deep subject though. It is a deep subject. It's a great question. And I hope I've answered it.
Wow.
But like I said, there's a lot to tell. There's a lot to tell about that experience.
All right, so let's move on from that. As an award-winning author and a poet, somebody who is accomplished in his field, you have lots of recognition. We see you in the media a lot. Whether on TV or in the papers.
Yes.
So, I mean, for you to reach the top of your game, and what are some of the things that you have to get done? Because there may be persons who are interested in that sort of a profession, but they may think, how do I make it a living? How do I make a living out of this?
That's another great question, actually. And first of all, I am right, because I'm involved with other things otherwise than writing. So you would see me in the media, kind of thing. What's interesting is that growing up, going to high school, there was never a space for creativity. It was very formal. You had to be get your qualifications, become a doctor, a lawyer, some specialization in that sense. There was never a space for creativity. But the internet has allowed that though. The internet has allowed for things where creatives can actually exist globally. And one of the things I think, and it's in our advantage where this tool now exists. So I say to anyone that like I said, I came on very late in terms of making it a career, because I was always doing something else. Because I wasn't taught that writing could be a career. Now, writing can be a career, much more so than it ever has been, or ever was. So I say to anyone that has the love for writing is to read. That's first. 2 is to keep writing. 3, have a mentor. You know, have someone who can guide you. And I also read across various genres, because then you shape your own writing. Have a space where you're able to write, in terms of tapping into that creative mindset or that creative spirit that you may have, and just keep writing and sharing. Because a lot of people write, but they don't share. A lot of people write for themselves, and they don't have the confidence in what they've written. But fortunately, you know, one of the things I do, because I do workshops also, I give people that confidence and encouragement, and what's even easier now that you can publish a book pretty easily. You know, I mean, it's not as if at one time where you had to get an agent and you know had to get a deal with a publisher. No, you can self-publish today, and which is so simple to do. And funny enough, I'm working with a young man from Calabar, a sixth former, who did some poetry, and his poetry is awesome, phenomenal. So I'm saying to him, listen, you know that you can actually have a book, and he was surprised, because you know he hasn't been taught that you can write a poem and publish your own book, right? Because it's not taught in school, for example. So I said, no, and I said, it's a very simple process. And so the poetry that he's written at such a young age is phenomenal. And I said to him, once you have your book, you have the confidence to go and start telling people about what you've written. And as a young person who's written poetry of this standard, you know what I mean, you'll be able to create something from it. So it's not difficult to do, I would say. To anyone, it's just a matter of finding a niche, finding a tribe, keep doing what you're doing, honing your craft, and entering competition like I did. It's not because the first time I went to the Commonwealth, for example, I went to the Commonwealth about 4 or 5 times. So,
wow.
Yeah. So it's not the first time I went it, but this time, like I said, so obviously it shows that because I've been honing my writing, it's at a standard that they accept that this time I've been shortlisted. So that's what it comes down to, really. It's just they just keep reading and writing and believing in your craft, believing in yourself. Really.
Yes. Yeah, and that is so crucial to have that sort of belief, and that's impressive in terms of helping even that high schooler from Calabar with that, because I remember in high school writing poetry, having a poetry book, and sometimes I like look back and I just laugh at myself, because some of the topics I would be just sitting outside and looking at the moon, and you know.
Yeah, no, and those things you should revive, because, like I said, that innocence at that time you captured so much, you just probably didn't realize it then. You know what I mean? Yes. So and I'm sure that if you should share with other people, and say, well, you know, this is brilliant, you know. So I would say to revive those kind of things, because that's when I had written my first poetry book. The poems in there I had written in the 90s. I only published the book. My first poetry book in 2000 or 2005, I think it was. So those are poems, and those poems are still relevant at that time, and they're still relevant to this day.
Who actually inspires you, or what inspires you in the industry or you just get inspiration from your own self?
Yeah, well, like I said, I get inspirations from all over. The beauty of traveling, it inspires you. The beauty of reading inspires you. The beauty of knowing about history inspires me.
I know, but I mean in terms of like, if they're a person that, for example, in your field that you look to and you'll be like, I would want to be like them one day, or you're not that kind of a person.
You know what? I think I am, but I know I am, because there's, for example, I love fiction. So I like I said, I read Alvin. Oh gosh, there's a friend of mine by the name of William Cooper. He's written African American, written some phenomenal stuff. I love reading his work. I also read Lee Child, and he's got a series called the Jack Reacher series, and it's actually there's a Jack Reacher program on Netflix and Amazon, one of the two. And I love reading his stuff. I love reading contemporary stuff. I just love reading, you know. But a lot of, like I said, I love action. You know, I love bringing romance, because I'm writing a number of novels at the moment as I speak, and they're across different genres. Yeah, so I'm writing a a piece about Jamaica, romance in Jamaica, love thing in Jamaica.
Oh wow!
I'm writing a thriller stuff set in Jamaica. So you know, so I'm inspired by whatever I read. I'm inspired by, and in particular, I love Lee Child stuff, and I like William Cooper stuff, and Alvin Hall, Alvin Ailey. There's quite a few people that I do get inspiration from, and I do love reading that stuff. But like I said, I just love reading. And then like I said, it helps me to hold, like I said, shape my own voice and hold my own language and so on and so forth. And I can see where for example, the story that won, well, that was shortlisted for Commonwealth Short Story Prize was shaped by William's work, William Cooper's work, because he brings in a lot of music. So, for example, his characters, protagonists or antagonists, will be listening to music and what the type of music. And if you see that, you'll see that in my story. You know what I mean? That where my protagonist is listening to Michael Jackson. So there's so other writers do shape what I've written, but I do have my own voice and my own language in a sense.
I love that, and I'm listening to you and I'm getting all excited because, as I mentioned, no, for real, because in high school, in first form, I remember there was this competition, and it was actually through the British High Commission. Okay. And to the Queen. So I actually got like a gift from the Queen. I tell everybody. Oh, wow. I never met the Queen. But but one of the things I actually also got was William Wordsworth poetry. Right. Yes. It was this huge book and just collection of his poems and everything like that. So just as you mentioned, listening to you, I realized I do so. I do other things, but I need to revive that poetry aspect, that novel aspect of me as well.
Yeah, man. I think you can't go wrong with, because my dream, even though you may say that when Charlotte's coming off, which is great, and I accept it, and I'm humbly honored by it. But my dream is to see one of my pieces on film or movies. That is my dream.
I was actually going to ask you that, in terms of like Netflix or a movie or anything like that, because that is like and you will get it.
Yeah, man. I see it. I see it. I do see it. So that is that. When it's like I said, getting Commonwealth is great. Should have gone and win it. Wonderful. But my dream is to see one of my pieces in the movie.
And I like how you just spoke a while ago. You said you see it, and it's that having that vision. And even also when you spoke about the fact that the Commonwealth, it wasn't the first time you had entered it. It was several times you had tried. But the fact that you were determined. And to me, I wanted to touch on that in terms of what are some of the top traits or top qualities you believe are needed to be a success in your profession, but just generally at life.
Exactly. One of the things I've realized is patience and persistence. Patience and persistence is because sometimes there were times when I said, oh man, there's times when I said I'm trying to create a career from this, and like not now coming, and I said, I might have to go out and find formal work, but then someone said, no, this is what you're here for. This is your purpose in life. So anything else, and it's true because I've done so many things, and they didn't work for whatever reason, and I've come to realize why they didn't work, because that was not what I was supposed to be doing. But I had to be patient. I had to be patient to find my way. Help to find my way, and I was able to find my purpose now. So I would always say the first thing is patience. The things that someone may expect to happen immediately won't. It'll take time. But it's about believing in yourself also. So patience, persistence, self-belief, believing who you are, believing what you're creating, knowing what your life purpose is. And mine is, I'm a messenger, which I didn't share. One of the first inspiration that I had when I started my poetry was I had a dream, and the dream had me as a scribe of when our ancestors were kidnapped from the motherland, and it also had me as a scribe, when we were building the pyramids in Kemet. So that was early on when the message came. I said, I can see myself as a scribe. I'm writing this down and say, yeah, man, I'm the one writing it down, and like I said, there's pieces that I've written along the way where I've explored that. So that dream inspired me to continue writing, for example. So it's about, and so that purpose came to me, and the purpose, it will come, it does come. Sometimes we're not ready for it. Sometimes our eyes aren't open, or we're not aware. But the purpose is always shown to us. You know what I mean? Every time. It's just something, like I said, we can't see because we're lost in the realities of trying to live in a particular environment or a particular life. But the answers come. So that's what I would say. It's patience, persistence, self-belief, believing in the life purpose, which will come, and it does come, and being aware and open to it when it does come.
Wow. I got a bit of goosebumps when you mentioned in terms of the dream and the fact that it actually manifested itself in that way to you. That's amazing. So then, as you mentioned, your purpose, it will come to you. We're winding down, but you know, your purpose will come to you. But how do you push through, especially when sometimes you're on your path, you're on your purpose, and happen, which, you know, that's life. Things are going to happen. So how do you have that tenacity to keep moving forward?
It's faith, I guess some people call it. It's faith in knowing that, for me, it's a faith that I have a message. You know what I mean? Our messages, and my messages must be delivered. So I must be hearing all of it happen, or create something once I'm gone to be left behind. So that's what the tenacity. That's what gives me the tenacity, and it's about also wanting to help others along their own life purpose, their own life journey. You know, like I said, my last book, My Day with Depression, is one book of that ilk, where I'm creating something for others to learn from or to help them heal in their own journey. So that is the basics for me. It's just, I've got messages I need to tell, and I write them, which is exactly what I'm doing. You know, and from that I hope that I help inspire and provoke thought and debate and arguments and that kind of stuff, and even controversy. You know, but I'm happy with it. I'm cool with that because I'm living my life. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Awesome. I love it. You know, you cannot be here and not go and we not have, like, give me a line or two or a couple lines from one of your favorite pieces that you have written.
I'm gonna prepare. You know.
I know it's on the spot.
Yes, on the spot.
Yeah, but that's what makes it better. Just a couple lines from one of your favorite pieces. I'm sure you have a favorite piece.
I would have. It's and it's funny enough, it's in my last book, and in the book I can't say word for word, but it was basically my experience of going to one of the enslavement forts on the west coast of Africa.
Whoa.
And yeah, and when I was going down into the dungeon of where ancestors were held, and reading it's more powerful. I can tell you that. But basically, what it is, when you go into the dungeon and you walk on the same floor that they walked on, it's so smooth that you're talking about hundreds of people who were held there. You look on the wall, you see the stains of urine, everything else, up to this day. and when you're in that space, you feel them, because it's dark, really. It's only like a light bulb, but everything else is dark. But you do feel them. You do feel our ancestors. But the most at the time when I went, and when we came upstairs, there was a door that was locked, a padlock door. And I will never forget this as long as I live. And it's in my book, my last book. And I tried to crack the door open and I asked the custodian for the fort, why is this door locked? And when I cracked the door, there was a stench. Yeah. And he told us, because I was going with an ex at the time, she's the one who took me there. He told us that the reason why the door was locked was because they couldn't remove the stench that was in the room. Yeah. This is after 400 years. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, so if I should read it to you, it's more powerful, but I'm just giving you a little bit. And that experience is the one that stuck with me. And the way it was written was inspired writing, actually. It was inspired writing. And that's a piece that always sticks with me, because every time I read that piece, it resonates with people, because a lot of us understand, but we don't understand. You know what I mean? And there's a difference between the two, which I experience, and I always share that piece about going to Cape Coast, which there's probably about, I don't know how many. There's too many enslavement forts on the west coast of Africa. But Cape Coast is the one that I went to, and the experience that I had in being in that space really also empowered me to continue writing because of what I just went through. So yeah, it's that piece, that like I said, my date with depression. In the book, there's that piece about my visit to Cape Coast, and that's the most powerful piece that I've ever written. Yeah. A lot of us can't fathom that they tried, and that's what he said. They tried to clean the room, the blood, the sweat, the tears, you name the effluence, you name it, and couldn't. At the time I went, and I was back in mid 2000s. I haven't been back since, but I intend to, just to see what's happening. Because at that time I was trying to find myself coming out of my depression, and that helped in terms of empowering me and making me understand who I am as an African Caribbean man of Jamaican extraction. You know, that journey actually made me realize going back to the source. You know, so that book in itself is very powerful, but that piece within that book is my most powerful writing, I'd say.
Yeah, you were just sharing it, and I honestly, wow, I felt every bit of it, and just to hear that story and that journey that our ancestors went through, that's wow. Yeah. I liked where you mentioned in terms of going back to source, and to me it speaks to a greater message around source, because source is always what you need to go back to find as, again, your purpose, your identity, whether it's source in the motherland or that inner you, whatever it is, because for you, your source helps you to heal from your depression and to move your life.
Exactly, and find my purpose, which it is now, which I'm enriched by. You know what I mean? I will tell you, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy, you know. But I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and whatever will come will come. You know. But yeah, with that experience, I had to be naked in a sense in that space. So like I said, up until that point, I've done a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I was involved with this, involved with that, but it wasn't working. But being in that space and being naked before the ancestors. Yeah, I couldn't hide. I literally couldn't hide, and I had to go through what I went through. But it helped with the healing. It helped with me to understand who I am, why I'm here, and to move forward. And to date, I'm grateful for that experience because I am fulfilling my purpose in life. You know. So
it's been a fantastic interview, Kwame. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And before you go, can you tell persons where, if we want to check out your work or purchase your work, where can persons go?
Yeah, well, okay. Well, in terms of my works are on lulu.com, so they can go to lulu.com and actually lulu.com and Google my name or search my name, actually, Kwame, Kwame, M.A., McPherson, McPherson, and that's where you can find my works on lulu.com, as well as on Amazon, actually. So they will also be on Amazon. So that's, again, it's something that Google searching for my name on Amazon, and you see the works that I've got on Amazon. I can be found on LinkedIn as Kwame McPherson. I can be found on Insta as Maxkey, and don't ask me why. It's M-A-X-K-E-Y. And see stuff that I've been doing there. And you can also find me on Facebook as Author Kwame McPherson. So that's where people can find me. And I am working on a website, but my email address is info@authoritybrandbuilding.com. So that's info@authoritybrandbuilding.com, and people can email me there. So, you know, but that's it. Google my name, see a lot of good stuff, unfortunately.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really true.
Yeah, you know, and they can see my name and see what I've got and what I've been doing and so on and so forth. You know.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Keep up the amazing work. Keep being a trailblazer, keep walking in your purpose and your passion and being a leader in your industry. And I'm looking forward to that movie. Maybe I'll act in a role in it when it's time.
Hold on. Who knows, my dear? Who knows? There's a lot to come, you know. There's a lot to come. There's a lot I have done, and yeah, there's a lot more to come, you know. But yeah, man, I have you in mind.
All right. Thank you so much, Kwame. Blessings.
Thank you. Bless.
Hi everyone, I'm Tamara McKayle, television and radio presenter, producer, communication specialist, and of course producer and host of the Trailblazers series, and I'm inviting you to be a part of the Trailblazers family as we continue to grow. So all you have to do is just click that subscribe button. Make sure you click that notification bell so you are alerted as to when we have new episodes, and join our family for weekly inspirational episodes that will not only lift your spirits but give you the tools, the keys, and the strategies that you need so that you can walk in your purpose, blaze your trail, and be all that you have been created to be. Thank you.